The Berlin Board of Education, committed to continuous improvement.
Motion by Julia.
Second.
Second by Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And now we move to new business. First item up is the superintendent's report regarding district's readiness for the opening of school. Ryan?
I think we're in really good shape. Unfortunately, Linda shared with me this morning, a candidate that we thought was all set for a contract emailed us over the weekend, decided that she needed surgery and would not be able to join us. So we do have to go back out for a special ed position. Disappointed the candidate met with us, was interested, not interested, then very interested, and now not interested again. The person came very highly regarded. She was an occupational therapist also, as well as special education certified. So we're disappointed, but we will be out searching for a special education teacher at this point. Other than that, we are in really good shape for hiring at this point. As far as the readiness of the schools go, I did speak to Jeff, and he has toured the schools. I haven't. I was on vacation, and we're in good shape from a standpoint of the readiness of the schools also, as far as classrooms being ready and ready to open. So all things look good. It's great to have a full staff at central office too to start the year. So things are on the up.
And I apologize for not knowing this off the top of my head. Opening day of school is?
Opening day of school is opening day for teachers. Let's start with that. Maybe I'll ask Aaron and I met today to talk about it's opening day for teachers. As our convocation will be, and they're all invited to the convocation. I'll have to get the date for that.
Monday, August 27th.
Monday, August 27th. And then the 28th is teacher in service. It's the first day. And then the 29th would be your opening day of school. So convocation is at 8 o'clock. The teachers have asked for it to not be. We used to have a much larger convocation with students singing. We go and introduce every new staff member. Sometimes we actually have a keynote speaker. The teachers have asked for it to be a more succinct, little briefer convocation, and they're really asking for time to move on with the needs of each individual school, their faculty meetings and so on, than to have a 2-hour convocation. But we're looking at next year. I have spoken to the union about extending a little more. We used to have, it was almost like a celebration to start at the beginning of the school. And for me, I think it's great to have the entire staff there in that kind of celebration, that new beginning each year. Because to me, it's almost like equated to a sport where it's a season. I don't know any other profession where you start each year as a new season, a new beginning. And there's something to be said about that opening day of a sport, whatever it is, the first game, and I think that convocation day is part of it. So we will have we'll have a sense of that this year, but not in a larger scale. I did not want to shift things without having the support of the union. The union was very strong with Dave about not having this 2-hour convocation, and a lot of, as they said, pomp and circumstance for it. So we will hopefully unveil. There was a Stop Innovation video that was put together by Berlin staff, which really focus on our Berlin learner outcomes. That we use Berlin students to create this Stop Animation. and we'll unveil that at convocation. So we'll have some sense of that, but it's not going to be a large scale, couple hour event. We recognize the awardees as far as length of service in Berlin. What we do for new staff is we have a bio in their picture that rolls on the screen, so everyone as they sit down can see who the new staff is, but we don't actually go in and introduce them and like we used to do. So just to give you, if you do decide to come, it'll probably be like an hour, 15 minutes, I'm imagining.
I appreciate the insight into how this kind of came to be. I was going to ask what your thoughts were, but I think that you covered that. I can, as someone who has attended the convocation in the past, I think that you're right on with the fact that it's the celebration of the beginning of a new year, and I'm kind of sorry to hear that that would be missed, because I think there is something to that. As someone who just came from my own private company's annual sales meeting for all the sales folks, that's exactly what it was. It's past year's done, the new year starts, and it was a rejuvenation of let's get everybody pumped up and let's go. So a little sad to hear that, but I understand. I know that you're working with the staff to come up with what's the best option to kind of cover both sides of the equation. So
We will, the teacher here will speak, and typically that's a great message that's usually communicated to staff. The board president used to speak and give an address. They asked to scale that back years ago, so it shifted a little bit. I personally enjoy having the students there. I mean, you get them up early in the morning, and I always love, but having them to sing a number or two, it's kind of nice message. But I'm going to keep with what they've asked for this year, and then look to get insight from some of the teachers as well as the union for moving forward for next year. So.
A question in regards to the new hires. I know every summer when you have them here for their training, you usually invite the board to meet them. Are you doing that next week at all?
Yes, we're going to be doing the new teachers meeting. We have a retreat on Tuesday next week. We actually have 3 days of retreat. We're working with, I'll give you a little more information too. On the 16th and 17th, Thursday and Friday, we're working with Avon, Plainville, Vernon, and Berlin will work together for a joint retreat with the Center for School Change. And our facilitators will be Richard Lemons and Bob Lanoa, who was a former superintendent of Farmington and now works at UConn as well as UCAP and the Center for School Change. And then that'll be Thursday and Friday. Tuesday we'll have our own little retreat here. The morning session will be focused on really teaching and learning within Berlin. And the afternoon will be focused on a legal update with Shipman and Rich Mills will be here, legal update. And then following that, on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have our new teachers. If any of the board would like to meet the new teachers, Wednesday morning would be the best for that at 8 o'clock. And I'll send you out, we're just sending out the flyer. Well, I can send you out the complete agenda for that. And that's a mix of some of the procedurals, things that are needed in the district, as well as a little bit about expectations in Berlin, some time at their individual building with their administrators and teachers. We have a teacher leadership program that we started last year. Katie Amenta from the high school is really heading that up. She's met with Aaron, as well as meeting with me last year. She's going to bring over other teacher leaders to meet and have lunch with the new teachers. So there's a kind of a mix and balance of the necessities that you need to start the year, as well as a little message about what Berlin Public Schools is about.
It's at 8:30.
8:30, I'm sorry.
And for board members that have not attended that in the past, it is, I will tell you that for the board member requirement, it's brief. You get an opportunity to meet them, introduce yourselves, talk to them briefly, and they have a very busy schedule, but it certainly in the past has been a really nice opportunity for board members to introduce themselves and show that we have support for what they're doing and we welcome them. So if you are free to come in for, I would say probably not, it's about a half hour that we have, that it is.
Quick.
It is a nice welcome for them. I know that when I've then come across teachers later on in the school year, they're always appreciative of, I remember you were there on my first day, and appreciated the fact, and so it is a nice thing, but it's certainly not a requirement. We know that people have very busy schedules. Brian, just so that you know, the 29th on opening school, I typically join the superintendent. Unfortunately, this year I will be in Charlotte, so I will not be able to join for the full school opening. So I will be late.
Many of the board members like to be there on opening of school. Typically, we make a tour of several of the buildings. Upon arrival, the buses meet the students. That's usually what the board chair does. But if someone would like to join us, usually it's the cabinet and the board that does that at each building. It's great to see the new sneakers getting off the bus and the smiling faces.
It's actually a lot of fun.
The excitement. It's a great first day.
Anything else on readiness?
So I think we're good to go. I thought we had all the hiring complete, but one left is not bad.
And not to pry, but whatever that this candidate is having done is not something that we would just hold back on. So it would preclude her from the school year.
Just that she'd be out 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, okay.
I know what your question is.
All right.
I like it very much so.
Facilities-related updates. Mr. Cookno.
Hi, folks. Nice to see you again. Hope everybody's having a good summer. I've got a couple things to talk about here. I did have the pleasure to meet with Doug Solik and the chairman of our Public Building Committee to talk about Berlin High School. It was a very, very cordial meeting, very informative for me, and I think the other way around. And I found some of the issues that PBC are working with in regard to the high school and how they're trying to resolve things. Also found out some interesting schedule issues. But the thing I want to report is that what the chairman committed was coordination with the Board of Ed and with our concerns, as I also did, from a staff standpoint, and hoping to hear a little bit more about closeouts and repairs and things like that going forward. So, number two, I wanted to say that there's a lot of work going on in the schools. I've got a totally different view of it and look at it this year, obviously, than I had in previous years. The amount of work that's being done by the town and their facility staff and others to get the schools ready for opening is just amazing, very frankly. I get a chance to go out there and see what's going on every once in a while and hopefully not get in anybody's way. And it's tremendous, and I thought I'd just take a moment, give the board a little idea of some of the things that are going on. Of course, there's not only new things happening, but there's also repairs and maintenance and so on and so forth, but it's pretty major. The first thing is, I think everybody's going to be interested in, is it looks like before the beginning of the school year, we're going to get a new rug over at McGee's Auditorium. That's been being talked about for a long, long while, and I think at this point we're waiting to have it put in. We believe we're going to make it before the beginning of the year. But it's a nice thing for McGee to get done, and it's, as you folks know, that's one of the auditoriums that is used a lot for a lot of things for the community. And so that's hopefully our first step in doing some things over at McGee. We've got some other things planned also. The other thing is that, as I said, the facility staff under Doug Solik for the town does a lot of work in the summer. They start their summer work, as they call it, in June, naturally, because the kids are gone. And it was pretty amazing to me when I actually got a chance to see what they were doing, but also review the list of what, because I can't see everything, review the list of what they're doing during this period of time of 2 months. And I'm just going to take a moment to give you a little bit of a taste of what I saw and what I hear. The kind of things they do, and this is every year. I mean, it's massive. Testing, inspections of every sprinkler system, every fire alarm, every PA system, clock, such and such. Maintenance repairs on all the doors and hardwares, plumbing, maintenance and repair from all the fixtures, including sanitary systems, obviously electrical maintenance, lighting, things of that nature, HVAC repairs, things like ceiling tile replacement, district-wide painting and maintenance. Then that's just normal. Go through the schools and make sure things are correct, safe, and up to what they should be, which, of course, in 5 major facilities is pretty massive. The high school, hopefully, is all the way up to snuff, but they still do them. They still go through the checkout. And by the way, just so you don't think I'm reporting about something that I'm doing none of this. I'm just giving you an idea of what other people are doing in the facility or doing it well for a long time. Project work, major stuff, there's a new divider wall up on the 3rd floor of the high school that's being built. There's also remodeling of Willard Library, which includes demo, new paint, ceiling, tile, flooring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Big jobs to be done in a very, very short period of time. Naturally, we're also doing some security stuff. We're doing some security filming on the walls. That's already going on right now. And we're also started the construction on at least one of the vestibule areas. The other material for vestibules is going to be delivered as soon as that material is here. They'll be working on a schedule to get those things put in place. Lastly, one thing I know I didn't on a board always consider also is what the custodians have to do in a school during summer prep. And you asked about, are we ready to go back to school? The amount of work these guys do is just fascinating, the amount of things that get moved, the amount of things that get cleaned, the amount of work that gets done and scheduled on a one or two staff schedules on all summer long is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm used to going into schools, you see them set up, you see the kids getting taught and everybody's happy. Then you walk in like now, or maybe a week ago, and you see that every room has got nothing in it. Every floor is spick and span. All the stuff is out in the halls. They go back in, it's all cleaned again. And they do every room in every school times 5 facility. Fascinating. Just tremendous amount of work. So I say that to you, once again, not because I'm involved in it, because I just happen to see it just very, very recently. We should be very, very aware how hard that is for these folks to do and how good of a job they're doing. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say on facilities.
Thanks, Jeff. Which building has the vestibule already started? Which building has the vestibule already begun?
The actual structure is not going up, but they had to do asbestos work and tile removal, part of a demo package for the vestibule, and that's at Willard. And that was started last a week ago this Monday. We started.
We still don't have, let's correct me, we still do not have a timeline for the vestibule.
Okay.
And we've asked that. I'll be asking Jack for a meeting to discuss that further. I met with him 2 months ago, was concerned about timing for the summer. Here we are in August, and we have no movement. We have no movement than the special, which is great because we can't move that during the school year, so it needs to be done. But there's no.
But it's only being done in one school. Do you think that they're going to find asbestos in the other one?
No. That's why they did that one now, because they knew it was there. And right now, that school has, the principal contacted me, has 6 different tiles on the floor. So that's the school that has the large rug when you walk in, really. And the principal had concerns about having, if the rug doesn't fit after the vestibules, it has to be resized, or having 6 different tiles when you walk in will not be aesthetically pleasing. Yes, it meets that there's more asbestos, but because it's been done over time, as they loosen up, they've been replaced, and we can't get the same tiles. So, we did talk to, Jeff talked to Doug, I talked to Doug, and he assured us that once the vestibule is created, that we'll work something out with the floor so it doesn't look like it's been patched. You can walk in and be this patchwork.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if I may, it's very difficult, hard, and expensive work to remove asbestos tiles and do all the environmental work that goes along with it. So you don't like to remove a lot of it unless you have to. Mm-hmm. So one of the resolutions here is when the vestibule gets put in this particular school, is that the area surrounding the vestibule will probably have some new special carpet put around it so it will all match rather than having to take up more tile and continue to take. So it's just like anything else. When you build anything as an addition, especially an addition in the entrance of the school, which of course is the busiest place you can ever be, there's a lot of things that come up in the logistics of it and also the planning of it that you want to have the end result be something very nice for everybody. So there's things like that we're doing.
Right.
Okay. Jeff, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Staffing update. Did you already cover that with
Staffing update goes like with
the readiness of schools?
Okay. I think that, I consider in a general sense the new teachers that I've met with, in particular, we've had a mix of those teachers that are brand new and a mix of teachers coming in with quite a bit of experience, which I think holds to our position's always been to hire the best candidate. But I think we stayed true to that. But there is a mix of those candidates that are coming in on the higher level, but we also have those coming in on the first level stuff, and it's variation depending on who the best person for the position is.
How many new staff do we have in the district?
Do you know the exact number?
17 new hires?
Certified. I have parents.
That includes, Megan Royce will be at Willard as a teacher leader. And then we hired Kara as the first one. From East Hartford. I gave a little back. From East Hartford, she was the teacher of the year for the state of Connecticut. She'll be joining us as a teacher leader. Excellent. We also rehired just some of the staff members. And because I've been out for the last week, Aaron's taking care of the interviews and stuff, but we had we had actually the principal of Canton Middle School decided didn't want to do administration anymore, and is now teaching at the high school as a social teacher. So, she was an assistant principal. She worked at Simsbury High School. Her name's Pam Hammond. She worked at Simsbury High School as a teacher, relocated to Florida, worked in a regional district as the head of the social department, and then moved to, was at McGee for a short term as a social teacher and then assistant principal, and then went to Canton as the principal, I think, for the last 4 years, and really wants to return back to the classroom at a high school level. So, excellent teacher. So like I said, we have a great mix of new as well as veteran people coming up, and I'm very pleased with who we're hiring. I think the administration's done a great job of selecting really high quality people.
Can I ask you a question about the teacher leader position?
Sure.
Can you give me just a general, very brief summary of how you envision them, what their responsibilities are going to be?
So part of their responsibilities will be to act as interventionists or a curriculum specialist with teachers as well as with students. Being that we haven't had the ability to hire additional interventions, as you know.
Right.
Those positions used to be, the assistant principals used to be half instructional, half administrative before we went to a full-time assistant. So the teacher leader role will be back to that. They'll do some of the administrative work, but they'll also have direct responsibility for instructional tasks in their day, beyond just the administrative piece. So they'll act as either a math or a literacy specialist within the given role.
Will they be evaluating teachers as
They will
well?
also assist with evaluating. Both of the teacher leaders have their 92s. Both are on teacher contracts, so it's similar to a department head position at the high school as far as the structure of their work year, the pay. It's very similar to a department head.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay. Next up, we have a final financial report for 2017-2018.
Chairman, I have a memo
Thank you.
that I should have had on your plate here, but
Sir? So Jeff, as I look at this, I see the $400,000 that the town essentially directed us to reduce our spending by, and an additional $43,590.71 of funds that were not spent that are also in the unspent dollars. Is that? That's
simplest way
the
to say it.
simplest way to put this.
This could have been a very large report with all kinds of stuff going back and forth, but the important things are,
Yeah, no, I think that this keeps it kind of pretty simple and basic. So I've actually had to start a little bit of a discussion here because I think it's important to point out that in December, the town council asked us or directed us that they were going to reduce our budget by $400,000 in spending. They asked us to not spend $400,000 and give that back because funds did not come from the state that they were expecting. So they took the $600,000, $200,000 went to the town, $400,000 went to the Board of Education, and they were trying to balance a townwide budget. At that time, conversations with David and Brian is we knew that some of our planning was going to allow for that. Not leaving the assistant superintendent's position open for the 6 months. We had a secretary's position that was open and a couple other positions we did not fill. And as you already know, we talked about Brian ran on a skeleton crew for 6 months. So we were able to meet that request and understanding that money wasn't coming from the state. But lo and behold, come May or early June, we find out that not only did they get the money back from the state, they got more. But there wasn't a give back to the Board of Education. Which to me doesn't necessarily seem fair, but they took the money, they stuck it into the general fund, and that's where it is. What I would like to have a discussion on is not so much the $400,000, because frankly, that was an agreement that we made back in December, and I feel that we need to do that and show that we, in good faith, gave them. But there is $43,000 or so that we are giving back, and I'd like to have a discussion about the possibility of having that put into the quote 1% fund. That request made to the town to put into the 1% fund so that we can spend it on security initiatives here at the school. There's things that we need to be on top of. We held a safety forum, and we've been talking about things. We've been talking about systems, and we've been talking about scanning systems and background checks, and some of those things we were able to start the process before the end of last year, but we didn't finish. I know that there's still a need for cameras, and it just seems to me that we've lived up to all expectations, and to at least make the ask. To not make the ask, let me rephrase this, to not make the ask of the town, to me, is not serving the safety of our kids in the best interest. Because we know that we have to implement safety initiatives in today's day and age, and I think that we should ask for something like that. So with that, I open up for discussion because it will amend the motion that we have later. So
Can you explain what the process is of the 1% fund? Do we vote on it as a board? Is it the town council, to the Board of Finance, or is it just us?
we've used this rarely.
Rarely, right.
In fact, I think the last time we used the 1% account, Jeff, you probably know, is when we went to all-day kindergarten. We needed funds to kind of seed that program, right? So in order to get that up and running, we needed money to be held so that we could push it forward. If my understanding is correct, is we need to make the request of now the Board of Finance, not the town council. There's a change here. That we would like to put $43,590.71 into the 1% account to be used, because we have to identify the why, to be used for safety initiatives. And they can either say yay or nay. If they say yes, then that money comes back for use for those things. If they say no, all of the money goes back into the town coffers, if you will. And they get stupid.
So we've talked about this briefly, this kind of piggybacks off her question. What are the parameters on the use of the 1%? I believe it cannot be used for salary.
Cannot be used for salaries or benefits.
But it can be used for resources, supplies, etc.
Correct. So in this case, I'm envisioning things like, and I have not had a conversation with Jeff or Brian. I was looking at this earlier today and said, you know what? This is crazy. We're giving back money that we could have used for very important things. Things like the Raptor system, which is a scanning and background check system. I know that we have portions of or some of them in, but we don't have all the schools covered yet. I know that there are not enough cameras, nor are the cameras linked appropriately in many of the schools. I know that McGee still needs cameras. I know that all of the elementaries still need cameras in order to monitor, and it sounds horrible that we have to get to this, but to monitor what's going on at the schools in the event that there is something so that we can go back and review them. I know that if you're in the schools, you know how important they are.
Camera, use security cameras all the time.
All the time.
So a couple of times you said 43,000. I think you mean 443,000?
No, I don't.
No.
Okay, so let me understand that.
So the 1% account allows you to go up to 1% of your entire budget. I'm not proposing that. I'm proposing simply the $43,590, simply from the perspective is that is the money that was not spent in our operating budget, less the $400,000 that we committed to in December.
Oh, I see.
And, you know, if we had the money, if we had another week or two, Brian would have figured out how to spend, Brian and Jeff would have figured out how to spend the $43,000, but we ran out. Right, so this was a time issue, if you will. Could we ask for 400? We could, and that's part of this discussion. That's how much we're giving back. I just don't. I personally am not comfortable with that based on the December agreement and what they were trying to do.
So this is like the 0.1% fund.
It's 0.01%.
But I think we need to honor the agreement we made that we would give back 400,000. I think that's the appropriate thing to do here.
Right.
Do we know how much they got from the state? Just curious. You said it was more than the 600 that they had.
According to Joe Arsimos, the governor has agreed to this year give them the funds that were reduced last year. So the 400, whatever, 600,000 that
Will
the
come
town
into
was
this
got-
year.
They're supposed to, and there was a question saying, you know, is it definitely going to happen? And Joe said it would. It's coming in increments during this calendar
Gotcha.
year, allegedly. So that being the case, they'll have that money plus the 400,000 that we're giving back.
And I actually would like to restate the way I worded my question. It's how much money we're getting, not they. I don't want to view they as the enemy somewhere out there, but this is all of us. This is all of our
Right.
money that we're talking about.
It's right. It's taxpayer money.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So there's the phone system. That was the other piece that's not. We did the key, the other phone system for still.
Okay. What Brian's referring to is, if you remember, we had in our capital fund the replacement of our phone systems, not only at McGee, but also at the elementary schools because they're old and antiquated. McGee's has been taken care of. We took care of that last year because the system went down, I'm going to tell you, early to mid-May. It was going to be something like $7,000 or $8,000 to find parts and labor to just bring it, to Band-Aid it back up. And I told Brian, that's silly, is if we have some end of the year money to upgrade it, then let's do it now. That's just throwing good money after bad. So we upgraded McGee's, but the other elementaries still need to be done. So this could go towards a portion of that too.
Wasn't if I remember correctly, the last estimate that we saw was that 25,000 would cover all 4 schools. Was that not end up being the case?
I think it was 120.
120. All right, I'm sorry.
For all schools.
All right.
And the last bid was up a little bit. The number that Doug gave, looking at their phones that they missed. Even at McGee, the original number they came out with, there were phones that were not in the quote that were missed based on when they did their walkthrough. So we had to purchase some additional phones to complete the job.
So the reason for the conversation or discussion is simply we would have to amend the motion that currently is here to reflect the fact that yes, we would give $443,000 back, but we are going to in turn ask for a portion to be
I'm just curious, do we have, if they gave us the $43,590.71 back, that sounds like a lot. Security, phone systems, like, do we have more money in that, in the fund to help support?
that $43,000 is just kind of the tip of the iceberg of what we need,
Say,
but it would get pieces done.
Okay, because it sounds like nothing compared to what we need. I mean, it's a lot of money,
No,
but I
it's
mean,
a
like,
great
for what we need.
It's a great question.
I could share with you, the board, that I've received at least 4 emails from various people stating, why don't you do your job, get something done on security. Some of the words are a little harsher than that, so I'm not going to repeat them here. I can share the emails if you want, but there is this pressure that the board, the superintendent, needs to act. Why aren't you acting now? You've seen enough of what's happening, but nothing's happening. So yes, we're working on the Raptor system, right? We'd like to add a security coordinator, maybe some security at the building, but there's been no money, additional funds allocated for it this time. So we'd have to find funds within our operational budget to do it, or see what grants. I mean, we're fortunate to get a grant it's actually from Sheryl Auto, and so it's a $2,500 grant. It's something, it's going to help with the Raptor system, but we just received the grant letter 2 weeks ago. So in order to move forward, as you said, it's not enough to do everything, but it's at least we'll do something.
Is it a way to word it like, I don't even know, I'm just learning all this, but to say it would help go, like, to let them know we still need so much more, but how do you word it, the letter going to this Board of Finance? I'm sorry to quote, but.
The mayor, I've had conversations with the mayor at length. He's well aware of what the need is.
Okay.
We sat in a meeting with Newington has a, called a safety coordinator / residency officer in Newington. The position's been there for a number of years. We've met with that person, with the mayor, with the town manager. I talked with the mayor about a plan of potentially hiring the security coordinator and then looking at security at the other 2 elementary schools. The mayor said, additional funds, if there were additional funds, I asked that $43,000 that were asked for. I asked the mayor if that money was there, would you give it back to us for security? So yes, those conversations
I
have
just
occurred.
wouldn't want them to throw it back and say, oh, we did give you money because you asked for it, and so that should all be taken care of. But
Actually, your question is a great one. I think, because we haven't done this before, I would want to put this in the perspective of, we're asking for 43 million or 43,000, but what we need to complete all projects is this, and this is the start in the process.
so I
Right?
wouldn't want them to say, well, you asked, we gave it to you, you
Right.
should have taken care of it, and then it not be
And I
taken
want to
care of.
present it that way, to your point, is we're asking for 43,000. Maybe we need, pick a number, 150,000. If we put it in that perspective, they could look at the total give back and say, you know what?
Right.
We're going to move even more because they have it.
Or
But
if they
I don't
said
expect
no,
that.
but gave us the 43, at least that letter says, well, that was a portion
Yes.
of what we need to complete the security phone thing,
Yes.
etc. I'm just curious. Okay.
No. Great. It was a great point. Thoughts? Proceed? Ask for the money? Not ask for the money?
You should proceed and ask for the
I
money.
think it sounds very reasonable.
Yeah, I guess, honestly, the part I don't understand is that we said we already gave back 400,000, but we
That's
haven't.
it right there.
That's it.
This is it.
Right, I know, but said we already agreed to that, but we haven't actually voted on that.
No, we did. That was old news. That was
That's old.
6
We
months
did
ago.
that.
I know, so why are we doing it again?
Because now we're actually
have
giving it.
it.
Now we're giving it. There's a difference between agreeing and doing.
It just seems that when the agreement came to the understanding, as you stated, was the town was going to be short $400,000, and it turned out not true. So I guess that the preamble for that seems very confusing. So
But we're also, based on what Brian said, we're also assuming that it's not going to be true. We're assuming that the state legislature is going to do the right thing
We
and
haven't got
fulfill
the
their
money yet.
promises, but the money's not there
It's
yet.
not there yet, so yeah.
And that was a position taken by the town. The money's not there yet.
Right.
It's someone saying it's going to come. So put it in the same way, and it hasn't. No one said if we get the money, you're going to get the money back next year.
And the other piece is, effective July 1st, anything that's, well, June 30th, anything that's not spent has to go back. We don't get to keep it. We don't have an account that we get to keep it in.
Except the 1% fund.
The 1% fund is actually part of the town. That
And we have
allocates
to
it
get
to us.
permission to use it.
Correct.
Do you get permission just from the Board of Finance, or does it eventually go to the town council as well? Do you know?
My understanding and the ruling from the town council, according to the chairman of the Board of Finance, is that it has to go through the Board of Finance, and they have say on all budget money now. And that's the ruling from the town legal counsel. It gets very confusing with who you talk to.
City charter.
Right. So, Board of Finance has to approve all money
Right.
expenditures.
I didn't know if it had to go to the next level or not, like the town budget.
I don't think so. Okay. So not hearing any other discussion, we do have to do a motion to return the money to the town of Berlin general fund, but we need, I don't think the word is amendment, but it would be, would it be returning $443,590 to return to the town of Berlin, $400,000 to return to the town of Berlin General Fund, and $43,590 is requested to be put into the 1% account for use towards safety initiatives with the schools.
Did you just say it, or do we have to say it again?
I'll say it. I move that the unaudited balance of the 2017-2018 fiscal year Board of Education budget in the amount of $400,000 be returned to the Town of Berlin General Fund. That the $43,590.71 requested for the 1% account to be spent on school safety initiatives. Is that correct?
I think that sounds good. I have a motion by Julia
Second.
and second by Rich. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. I know that Betty will be over later to get all of the terminology for the motion again later, so
I wrote it
remember what
down.
you said.
I got it written.
Excellent. All right. Staying with budget. I have asked that the Director of Business Operations on a monthly basis, not every meeting, but monthly basis, just give us an update of where we are with the budget. I didn't ask him to provide significant detail, but I'm asking is as he's kind of monitoring as we go along to just give us basic updates in an effort to avoid what we went through last year with kind of some surprise shortages and overages that were significant. So with that, turn it over to Jeff, and I know that we're a month in, so
Right.
we can't have a whole lot of data. So
Realize the reason you don't have a report in front of you with figures all over and where we are with balances and so on and so forth, I didn't think it was necessary, given that we're in a month into the deal. Your report would have been as of July 31st. The good news is I haven't spent the entire budget. We have a substantial amount of funds to spend over the next year. We have categories and monitors going on every line item. I found out that, and not that it should be surprising to everybody, but we've got a staff in central office here that is working constantly and very efficiently, notwithstanding me, very efficiently on making sure that we are up to snuff on our line items. We are keeping everything on track as the budget was adopted. You all know, I'm sure, that even though you mostly saw very, very large line items in our budget that we're keeping in mind with. There are many, many, many subparts to that budget which are also being tracked. We're doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one, we don't want to go over on anything. We want to make sure we have enough to do what we said we were going to do. But on top of that, the good monitoring of that and evaluating it will allow us to do a really good budget for next year also.
Right.
So really what's been going on is we're fine with money. Nobody's broken the bank yet. We've got a lot more to go, but we've got some things in place here that to be able to monitor it very well. And it seems to me that everything's very positive.
Where are we with the report from the, and I can't think of the name of the report now. Yes, thank you.
So we were tentatively looked to have on the 27th of this month to have a forum to discuss it.
Okay.
So I was reached out to the IRA today, was unable to reach them to talk about having a greater discussion of where they are with the report. The demographic study you have, they are, last time I spoke to them, they were close to having complete, at greater length, preliminary study, including looking at the various options of the school. So I would imagine hopefully by the end of the week I'll have something in a rough draft to share with you.
So I was working with Debbie Bautista earlier today. It is my goal to have on the 27th, which we do not have a board meeting scheduled for the 27th, but we would have a special board meeting on the 27th. The only item that would be on it would be a presentation from DAR about the study that was done, and we would invite not only the town council and board of finance, but also we would make it an open invitation to the public to hear their presentation to us.
So it wouldn't be back and forth, we
So
would
that-
be fielding questions from the community.
Correct. Any questions it would be, and that would be really step one in the process of how we would use the study to move the school system forward. Without having any recommendation in front of it, as I don't want to venture as to what it does say. But that would be the opportunity. I'd like to start that earlier, as early as possible,
What's that
obviously.
timeline?
Without having the results of the study, we don't have a timeline. Right, so it depends on what the recommendations are. Do we feel that feasible are the initiatives that we can implement, and then put, kind of project management around that. So, but until we get the report from them, who obviously I know we've gotten good feedback from their interaction with the community, that's kind of the basis. That's what we asked for. We originally wanted June. We're now into August, but I think that this is a big enough issue that it's time well spent. Let's make sure it's thorough and it's complete and it does what we need to do. So, like I said, stay tuned. That's what we're hoping for is kind of that opening salvo on the 27th.
Does that coincide at the same time as the high school and McGee open house kind of thing?
It's before school.
August 27th, right?
I know, August 27th is
That's
when...
my day.
I know, that's when McGee 6th grade has their orientation in the night, and then the high school freshmen also have their orientation like an hour later or something, so that parents can go to both.
That's a great point. We'll work around it.
Just like,
Thank you.
Well, we'll work around it. That's a great point. You forget that the calendars get all
By
filled up.
7:30,
Everybody will be done?
they're concluded. So if maybe even if we did something,
That would be too much though for parents who might have a student at McGee, a 6th grader, a 9th grader, and
We'll look at the schedules and see. what
I'm
we
good,
can-
I just was asking.
No, it's a great question.
but I think with like
You
getting
can't, like we originally
parents
had
getting kids in
McGee
bed
and,
and
I
McGee and
know,
high
I
school
saw
were at
that,
the
and I
same
was like,
time.
oh.
Yeah,
we worked on that.
we worked
Yeah,
on
I saw.
that, so. Sounds like it's raining. Good, then we can stay here for a while.
all night.
All right. So we are going to, Jeff, thank you for your report. We look forward to the process as we go forward. I'm sure that it is going to change as we go along. You said on this side, we start asking for one thing, end up someplace else. So, item number G, ED-099, agreement for child nutrition programs, change of authorized signers.
What has to take place here is that this operation manager that they would have to switch over to Jeff, so if you want me to give the I come on board to the recommendation.
Yeah, so this is just so that you're the authorized signer for all of the food service stuff?
Sure. Listen, after this last month, you can't believe the amount of things that I'm signing for, so I'm good.
So we're gonna add one more. So,
Then it's on the too, Jeff.
with that, I need a motion.
Here we go. I'll give you a motion. I move that Jeffrey Cookno, Director of Business Operations, be designated as the authorized signer of the ED 099 Agreement for Child Nutrition Programs claims for reimbursement in the absence or incapacity of the Superintendent of Schools.
I have a motion by Rich.
I second it.
I have a second by Tracy. All right, Tracy's on the board.
It's like ominous though.
All in
Something's gotta happen to
favor?
Brian.
Aye.
Good to have that.
Opposed? And motion carries 5-0. Excellent. Item number H, discussion about Berlin Bravos. So I asked that this be put on the agenda for discuss for numerous reasons. So I will preface this with, I think that Berlin Bravos are very important. I think that Berlin Bravos are very important, particularly when the students have done something above and beyond and really deserve recognition. But I think that anybody who's been on the board knows that there are times where Berlin Bravos have been simply, and I don't want to degrade any of the awards, but it's, Rich is a nice kid. Okay? They're all nice kids. I think we need to put some parameters about what Bravos are. And keep in mind that we intend to have board meetings in the schools this next year, so we'll be moving around, so that's an opportunity to recognize students and schools at the same time. And as I said to Brian, I think others have said to him too, is we really would like to see some of the things that the kids are doing. The young man who came that did the computer work, that created the rubric creator on the computer for that teachers are now using, for me was awesome. The elementary school kids that were doing the programming of the robots were really slick. I personally am really interested in seeing that kind of stuff, as well as recognizing those students that did something above and beyond or overcame something really significant. So I think that it's a place to have discussion, because we need to give direction to Brian so he can give it to the administrators about what it's going to look like and how we're going to go about that. So Brian, I don't know if you want to give the other perspective as well, but that's kind of some of the board issues that have come to me.
Just to keep in perspective the length of the meetings, so if we're doing 10 meetings in the buildings, 2 at each building, which we spoke of, and the administration will plan on having to showcase something that's going on in the building, like you saw the programming done, or whether it's a STEAM classroom or something, an art class or something, a literacy classroom. If we did Bravos at, say, 2 of the other meetings that are here, I think it's great to have the people come to the board, which most people don't, and it's a good experience for students to also see there's a Board of Education and for parents there's a board, to do the Bravos on the off nights from the buildings, to keep the meetings also from running. Because you could have a student presentation in the Bravo, and you're looking at 45 minutes of the meeting being taken up with that if you do both in the same night. So my thought is to do it on the off night. So when it's a student presentation, it's just a student presentation. If it's a Bravo, it's done here. As far as parameters, we can look at parameters, and I understand what you're saying. You want it to be something unique, something different, an obstacle overcame, that sets this student apart from what the normal expectations are of a student. So they should stand out for whatever reason, whether it's academically, socially, achievement-wise. Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah. I have a question. So I know how we do Bravos. We'll do the elementary schools and then Biggie in the high school, right? So what if on the off nights we're not at the school, maybe the nights we're at the schools, we can have special school recognitions, which are similar to what have been happening, right? We bring some kids in, and then maybe there's some quick recognitions, maybe the speeches aren't as long, or however we want to do it. but we could do school-wide recognitions at those meetings when we're in those buildings. And that would be a great opportunity to, do some student presentations, recognize some students for something wonderful. But then on the off nights, rather than saying this month we're doing elementary schools and then this month we're doing secondary, we could say throughout the course of the month, maybe you send out an email to all the principals. If something has stood up, please send it forward. And that way, you might have one elementary, one high school. Rather than saying, we need to fill these spaces. Like, go figure out who you're gonna give it to. Does that make sense? Or do you think then you might have too many?
I think it makes sense. I don't know about too many. I just worry about someone saying, well, such school has 10. You didn't have any from your school, so why don't we have
Maybe
any from our
limit it to
school?
one if they have one.
Brian, can we?
I think, Matt, what you're kind of getting at is also the balance of presentations versus bravos. If we say they're kind of different things, on one item, I think you have the students presenting something they did. I think that's a great opportunity for the kids to present to a bunch of adults, to cameras, to reporters. The bravos, it's often the opportunity for the administrator to perform and present. I understand we're recognizing something. I'm just wondering if there's some kind of opportunity to recognize the kids, give them an opportunity to present in something they did. You look at presentations, it's not just, we could randomly choose one of the kids to present, someone who's good at presenting, but if someone really excelled somewhere, there's an opportunity maybe to recognize something that they have done. Maybe someone who's struggling a certain course, but actually did something really well, where they can actually present for themselves. I just think, as I've sat here, we've seen a lot more bravos and a lot less presentations, and I would really like to see the balance shifted. To hear from the kids, hear their experiences, rather than hear from the administrators about what their experiences were.
So I'll give you I'm going to tie it to something that we just voted on and approved. I'd love to have kids that went to Project No stand here and tell us what they learned and what their experience was, right? And not the teachers, the kids. And I'll give you an example. I went to a district in Massachusetts, and the kids all went to space camp. They all went down to Cape Canaveral and went to space camp. And I was actually excited to hear the presentation of it, but the teacher did the whole thing. The kids read off of a card.
Yeah.
They're all in middle school. They read off a card. And then the teacher just talked about how great it was. Well, I want to hear what the kids do. Now, with that said, the recognition that the kids get through Bravos for something that they do achieve or overcome or excelled at, and their parents are all here, is super important. It's a connection to our community. And I don't want to lose that, but I would like to see some other parameters about this. So maybe the answer here is, Brian, if you and Aaron can talk with the administrators and maybe kind of collaboratively put together what real parameters are about that, so that we are still getting those kids, and then we get the presentations, would be a good balance for what we're doing. Because I will be honest, there are times where I felt like, not to take away from the kids because they all deserve what they got, but sometimes it felt like a little competition between the elementaries about who could get the best kid here. Yeah, who could give the best speech, and to me that's not what it was about. It was about that young child that did here, that overcame something, or excelled at something, or did something really special.
I just have a question about that, because I know there's been times where we've had some bravos of students who have overcome personal things. And as the speeches are going on, I know I sometimes cringe because I feel like it's too much personal home information being shared, where I would think, oh my God, I would be mortified if that was being shared about my family. And it doesn't happen often, but I know in my 3 years sitting here, there's been times where I've been like, and I know it's all good intentions, and I know it's because they're very proud of the student because what they overcame was so difficult. But I think it's as you guys figure out those parameters, if a student has gone through something terrible and if that student is being recognized, maybe finding an approach that's more supportive of the student and their family.
And less intrusive to the event.
Yeah, because there's been times where, like, as a teacher, I'm like, I would never talk about that stuff in public if they've gone through. And I'm also someone who likes to keep my personal business very personal, so maybe I feel that way. But I'm not, saying anything about any administrator or anyone. I just know that personal businesses.
I understand what you're saying, but each administrator contacts the parents,
Okay.
speaks to the students. It's not as though they just tell them, invite them to this tonight. A lot of them will say that, when I called Johnny down to the office and spoke to him, they contact the parents and say, Johnny's going to see what for. So there's some conversation there that takes place. I've never heard a parent, let's just come to the board, where a parent was offended or a student was offended by, saying that they had such a disability, they overcame it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, that a parent says, well, I felt like I had to do it. But I think sometimes there's a sense of pride or that they're very proud of the adversity.
And I can respect that. I was just trying to think of it from the other end of
I guess,
their peers and other parents.
I think you understand what we're asking.
I think that's what you're asking. I just need to know how much. To me, the student presentations right now, 10 visits in the building, you're looking at 10 presentations.
I think that's perfect.
So that's out of the board meeting, you're going to have 10 student presentations. To me, what I'm hearing is that you appreciate the student presentation. We can add as that student, that wasn't planned that night. It was something that I heard looking at a capstone, listening to the student and said, the board has to see what you've done, which now that turned into summer work for the student, who will continue this year working during the school year part-time as a tech helper. So I think when we have that was a unique opportunity, those are things to share with the public. I think that's similar to the Bravo. You want it to be unique. You want it to be someone that stands out, that has, overcome something above the typical,
That could have been combined with a Bravo for
Exactly.
I think that easily was a Bravo and a presentation at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. I like the idea that Matt said about you getting together with the administrators and talking this out. One concern that I had, and I had some confusion actually, we had a couple of adults get Bravos.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would love to recognize employees who go above and beyond. There's no question. But the speeches were just essentially, they're a good employee and they always have a smile on their face. And I think that that's a difficult way to single one person out in a building, or one building versus another building. That was a tough one to me.
The chances are I'm sure Bravo.
Yeah,
I think
That's not lie right there.
I think it'd be helpful to have parameters because it was very loose, and everyone's view of what constitutes a Bravo is very different. As you can see, different administrators bring different type of students forward for a Bravo. And those of you who sat on the board, I can tell which administrators are going to bring which type of student forward for a Bravo. So we'll have the discussion. We'll come back and we'll share with the board, some perspective of what the Bravos would entail and what meetings we would have. We'll look at the meeting schedule also, how many meetings to put the Bravos on, what's reasonable, and then with the presentations also.
I have a quick question because I wasn't at last meeting, but I'm super duper uber excited that you guys are going to the school for presentations and everything, or we guys are all going to the school for presentations and everything. Really quick, are the presentations, are we going to make sure they're different at every school? Like if someone does the robot, that the other school doesn't do the same thing?
Absolutely.
So that was one. Two, is it possible, like you were saying Bravos and certs and all that, if, let's say we had 3 kindergartners up here and they did their robot thing, can we just give them a piece of paper saying thank you for presenting in front of the board? It's not an award, it's not anything, but it's just showing that we're thanking them. They can put it on their fridge, no big deal, just saying thank you, because kids and parents like that. Second or third, is the invitation, so if you're at Griswold, we're at Griswold, and the invitation is everybody can come. It's not just Griswold, correct? It's like all the communities and everything. One question I had, and I don't even know if this is possible, but something changing my hat onto what I do at Griswold that we're introducing now, I'm not sure if you're aware yet, is I'm working with the senior center. And they are now going to be signing up, going through their background checks and everything, and they're going to start reading to our classrooms. We're going to hold concerts for them. I feel that raising children is a community effort. And if we've got a lot of voters that are seniors and not necessarily supporting what we do as a Board of Ed, I think we need to kind of bring them in to see. And if you could invite the Senior Center to come to these presentations. Did you guys talk about this and I wasn't here? I'm sorry.
That's okay, no, it's
I
not.
like the idea of recognizing the seniors at the board meetings who are coming in and
I
reading.
wasn't here, I didn't know, but I was thinking that they could come and see these kindergartners do that, and they may want to support our schools more. But you already talked about it, and I wasn't here.
Actually, it stemmed from your
Oh,
communications
yeah,
meeting. That's where it came from.
Okay,
So
so didn't know.
we're on board.
Great, good.
Yep, absolutely. So not to give you and your staff any more additional work, but since it originates there, it just seems to make sense for them to bring that through. So, excellent. The next two items on the agenda will require some executive session time. But when we are done, there will be motions that will have to be done in the public sector. So we will start with, we need to go into executive session, and we need to invite Denise and Brian for the first, and really only need Brian for the second, but we can ask Denise to leave. So with that said, I would entertain a motion to enter executive session.
I second.
No, I
No, you
still
have
need
to
a
say it.
motion.
I have to say it, what do I have to say?
Make a motion that we.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Invite Brian.
And invite Brian and Denise.
I have a motion by Tracy,
Second.
second by Rich, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We are in executive session at 7:20.